What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So we've done a few PBE videos recently with how big this 6.17 patch is going to be, but some more changes have popped up, so I can't wait to take a look at them as well. I think quite a lot is actually going to change with this patch. There are 21 champions being buffed or nerfed at the moment on this patch, so if you want to see like a predictions video where I look at who I think is going to be the best starting out at 6.17 or overpowered, then let me know and I'll get that done this weekend. Anyway, let's crack on. So if you want to check out all of the champion changes, then I have 2 videos on that already. Both are going to be linked down below. I'll also recap at the end of this one, but this video is for the new stuff. So JHIN was already getting some hefty nerfs, I think, but actually it might be even worse with this new one. So they've removed the passive change, so that is going to be staying as it is, and your W nerf is still there. The AD ratio is down to 50% from 70, though you do get more damage to minions. Your ultimate had this thing on it already that doesn't look like it refunds any cooldown now, but the damage has also been adjusted. This is the new thing. So the base damage is going to be down 10 rank 1, 25 rank 2, and 40 rank 3. To compensate, it's kind of increasing the missing health percentage damage on it, so it's now 2.5% for 1% missing rather than 2%. The thing is, personally, I think this is targeting the wrong part of him, and actually now might be making him this kind of all or nothing champion. In my opinion, it might be making him even worse. I did a lot of research before this. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the right kind of information, and I wanted to show you 2 things, okay? So these are the win rates for game time for JHIN this patch from champion.gg and op.gg. You can see this is a straight downward line from like overpowered win rate early into the game to basically average late game. Later, the tanks absorbing your ultimate shots mostly, and that is the reason why they won't be taking much damage at all. It really hinders like JHIN's ability to kind of dumpster everyone, because that is what you're doing early into the game. Like, you don't have that problem really. You can ultimate and you can kill people with the 4 shots, even tanky targets. The thing is, these changes, right, are going to affect later more than earlier, so they're going to be the AD ratio is down, like late game you have more AD of course, and base damage down on your ultimate, but the increase with missing health up. The ultimate one actually makes what I just said is a problem worse. I think like tanks don't lose much HP from these shots, right? They can block them, and the percentage increase like means nothing because their health isn't even lowering anyway. On squishy targets, it'll definitely be a buff. I'm pretty sure about that. Those shots will hurt for sure, and lower health you get, the more deadly they're going to be now. It's not easy to hit those carry targets though in a full like 5-on-5 fight with your ult at all. That is the problem. I don't know, JHIN can still do a lot of work like in later game fights, especially with his 4th crit shot if you play it right and stuff, but he's just not as overpowered as the early game at all. Nowhere close. I think this change might actually kind of make him into like a get ahead and snowball, otherwise you're boned against tanks later, because they're making his late game worse. It's definitely going to make him more of a risky pick in my opinion though, for sure. Like, you're going to have to do some work early, otherwise you are just going to fall behind. Now there's another tweak as well to Gangplank, which is quite big. So before it was like his ultimate, right? That's what they were targeting. The cooldown increased early and the damage per wave down early as well. Those ones really hit like his cross map impact, I think, like if they're going to sit in the top lane and just ult bot lane for example. But now we have some more direct stuff to Gangplank himself. So his W mana cost is going to be increased by 20 each rank. That is the thing that heals him and cleanses crowd control as well. It might not seem like a ton, but if you think about it, basically now if you use this 4 times in lane, before the change you could have used it 5 for the same mana. That is actually a decent chunk in my opinion over like a lane phase. For example, like if you normally use it like 20 times over a lane phase, now you can only use it 16 for the mana cost that it would have cost you to use 20 before. Also, his base HP is actually down 40, which is a lot for base numbers. Normally it's not that big actually. This is probably like the kind of the right way to go about it, but maybe not actually. I still think it'll be good, but only if you can survive the lane phase now. So he's easier to punish, right? You have less free sustain, I guess. GP is so bad early game, and that's where you have to bend him over. If you don't, he is literally going to get some levels, get some items, and then bend you over his barrel and just shove that gun up there, which is no fun. Nobody wants that. I think like actually Gnar might become a lot more popular in 6.17 because you can punish him hard in the first few levels, and if you get ahead, he stands like no chance at all. You're just going to chase him down with Frozen Mallet and he's screwed. This will make it easier for that kind of thing for sure, and even like picks like Echo or Irelia would be a bit easier to manage GP. He's still going to carry late game, but it's at least a start, right? Like, it gives us a bit more control back, though unfortunately this is solo queue, and this is why maybe it's not a good change. If you're not in the lane against GP, then it still sucks because you can't do anything. Like, he's going to be weaker earlier, right? But what if your top laner just sits there and lets him farm? Like, then you're going to get him one-shotting you later like normal, and you can't really do anything about that. This is kind of the problem when he's in another lane and he just sits there and farms constantly, and then finally comes down to team fights and kind of kills everyone. Maybe like this needs a different approach to tackle the like armor pen build that is spiking really hard after 2 items. Anyway, a lot of you now in my last video were really excited to see a Jayce buff like me. Sadly, the cooldown lowered for switching forms has not stuck around, which I was super excited for, but we do have a new one. So now when we transform, so we go from like range to our hammer form, we're going to get our next auto attack having a 40% bonus AD scaling rather than the AP it was before. So what this actually means is like your first auto and hammer does more damage. Right now it's going to do even more throughout the game as well, and your like dive in, your Q, your auto, your knockback combo will do an absolute ton more damage. Jayce builds a ton of AD and armor pen, so this is perfect for him. Like 40% scaling is actually really good. It might see him actually come back a little bit. Poke is kind of getting better in the general game anyway. It towers me more, and the poke is kind of the best way to get them for free. Like you poke the enemy team away and then you take it. We're seeing more Lux, Vel'Koz, Xerath come back, and now maybe Jayce can kind of join in with that as well. There's no real way to tell before this patch if it's actually going to be enough, but it does look pretty hopeful actually. If you think about it, Ghostblade, Manamune, Duskblade, Last Whisper, and then maybe like a Bloodthirst or an Infinity Edge maybe to finish it off. Like that's a really high amount of AD, and it will actually make a difference. In my opinion, build stuff is already really good and really solid, ready for Jayce to come back into the meta. You just need like the champion itself to be a little bit better, which I think this will do. There was another nerf though that was made worse over this PBE patch, and that's going to be to Rek'Sai. She's really getting absolutely whacked with the nerf bat. The ultimate cooldown is already up 30 seconds per rank. That's like 3 minutes now, rank 1 by the way, which is ridiculous. Who has an ultimate cooldown that is 3 minutes long? As if that wasn't already enough, as if that wasn't bad enough for Rek'Sai players, her tunnels now, like her E when she's burrowed, has had its cooldown increased early by 6 seconds. To make a tunnel now, you actually have to wait almost 30 seconds between casts, which is pretty ridiculous. What actually makes this even worse than it seems like is you max this last normally. So literally for like most of the game, you're going to have to wait 26 seconds between tunnels. I know this is getting close to worlds and stuff, but this is really harsh in my opinion. Like ganking is still good for sure, but her map pressure is what makes her unique, and they are nailing that so hard. I know she's not too popular in solo queue, like anyway, I guess not compared to competitive. This is definitely targeted at competitive play, but it kind of sucks for us players who actually play Rek'Sai in our games. Now there is actually one change I did not mention before in any video, even though it was there, which was to Diana. Her mood for her E, like pulling thingy, is getting its radius increase to 250 from 150. I definitely butchered what that ability does, but it's like a decently sized increase, I think, honestly. And the thing I didn't think about before was how well she can combo with other things now. She can pull everyone together for follow-up crowd control like Sejuani or Mumu, or like damage from Misfortune or Rumble, for example. This might actually increase her utility side of things by quite a fair amount, actually. The problem now is that if you don't one-shot someone in fights, you're basically useless. I think it's fair to say you don't have any kind of utility or anything really to help your team. This will make that better and actually give her some kind of backup to like her damage. Like on its own, it's nothing really, right? Maybe better ganks, but nothing special. It's the fact that if you add in some other crowd control or area damage on top of that E that's just pulled like everyone in, it could be literally insane. It's a cool idea. I have no idea though if it's actually going to be able to execute like that. Now this is solo queue. People are not very coordinated. Maybe in like a ranked 5 situation this would be pretty cool if you're pre-made, but it's something I thought would be actually really good to play around with this after the patch. The last thing I want to mention is Brand's buff. So it was getting the E change, it was having more damage, or the ultimate as well. Like I thought those were super good and would be like making them amazing, but actually they got removed completely. Like there are no brand buffs on the PBE anymore at all. Not one single thing, even though there were 2 before. I have no idea if they're going to come back in some form or not, but I definitely thought Brand was going to become pretty busted with those, so maybe we escaped it. Like maybe we escaped the wrath of Brand support in mid lane. Those are going to be the ones that I think are the biggest changes from the updated cycle that we didn't go over before, but let's just recap real quick because there are tons of changes in this 6.17 patch. These are all of the buffs and nerfs on the PB at the moment, so there are 21 different champions and things are bound to get mixed up a lot, especially for AD carry changes and like maybe the top lane as well. If you want any more information on those, then you can go and check the links for the AD carry changes video and the general changes one down in the description, like if you want to know my thoughts and kind of what are going to be the biggest ones. Anyway, you can see all of the changes on screen right now, how this patch is shaping up to look like in 6.17, and it looks massive at the moment as well. Remember that these aren't just one change per champion either, so there are more than 21 changes to actual abilities. Last time I did this video, I kind of asked you guys what you thought were going to be the biggest changes, but I didn't actually say what I thought was going to be the biggest one, so I think I'm just going to tag that on at the end. To me, I actually think Riven getting more damage on her ultimate is massive. Like she's already super popular and very strong if you're good with her, so now it's going to become even worse. I'd expect her to become like the best top laner with GP. The Ashe and Sivir nerfs as well will knock them off at the top spots, I guess, and bring in like a little bit more diversity to the role, but they're still going to be good. And I don't know, Jinx getting a buff is weird. I love Jinx. Like my icon on the channel is Fishbones, her rocket. Like I really do like her, but she's already strong and now she could just become like welcome to Jinx Town next patch and just be so good. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this look at some new stuff stuff coming onto the PBE. Let me know what you think of the new changes, but I'm going to leave you with the robots.